Well, you pull out and you shoot 4 times.
Yeah, the gun jam.
Camera like that. The clip that shook the scene kicked off like any other viral moment. Shaky phone footage, fans yelling everywhere, and NB, a young boy, standing in the center of straight chaos.
I knew, like, do the same thing, like, stay calm and just make sure I get to the hospital.
But this time, it wasn't just another random internet moment, because viewers swear the camera caught YB smacking Lil Tim for real. This is the same man some in Quando Rondo's camp once called a hero, while King Von supporters painted him as the villain in the story. Within minutes, the video blew up everywhere. Comments were going crazy with some writing, "Ain't no way YB just checked his own shooter." Others tried to say it was fake. But what made the clip hit even harder was who was involved. A figure tied to one of the most infamous moments in modern hip-hop history.
Then I'll be damned, it really happened. Our rapper got killed. It broke my heart seeing my N-word get hit up with that steel.
The internet started calling it karma, but people who really follow this street saga knew there might be something deeper going on. It was YB reminding everyone that no matter what happened that night in Atlanta, he controls the story now. And that's exactly why this moment blew up so fast. The tension between Youngboy's camp and Von's legacy had been brewing long before this so-called smack clip hit the internet.
He dropping the tape at 12. Guy out, shit, tell a nigga catch up with me.
People already knew about the 2020 shooting that left King Von gone. A moment that turned Lil Tim from an unknown name into one of the most talked about figures in the entire hip-hop scene, especially among Chicago supporters. That night, according to what he has said himself, was nothing but confusion, straight chaos. It all happened in seconds, and that split moment might have been the line between survival and tragedy for more than one person.
Yeah, it's like, he ain't want to just say, I don't know like 100% everything, but I know he wasn't saying like he didn't want to just drop the tape, like I don't want to drop this with you. He was saying like, let's wait.
Shots were fired, officers jumped in, everything went wild. And Lil Tim ended up hit twice, once in the hip and once in the backside. Even while injured, he claimed he kept his focus sharp, like he refused to panic. That cold mindset became part of his image later, because after Von passed, the streets stayed quiet until NBA Youngboy stepped back into the picture. YB had been locked up, battling his own struggles, refusing to fold under industry pressure, and that stubborn confidence is exactly what built his reputation.
And he was just saying like the same thing everybody else saying, like, don't worry about it, what the industry's saying, bro, you ain't did nothing wrong.
He never played by the label rules, never chased approval. But when he finally walked out, something about him was different. He wasn't just fired up, he was strategic. Every lyric, every diss, every post felt like it carried a message with heavy meaning behind it. So when he and Quando Rondo dropped their collab tape, 3,800 Degrees, fans instantly understood it wasn't just a project. It felt like a response. In the track 808s, Quando practically retold the night Von lost his life, and the way he described it made it sound like he was lifting up Lil Tim all over again. But behind the scenes, something even darker was brewing.
I look at it like some folks giving me my flowers or some folks showing respect.
Reports say Youngboy didn't even want to drop that project at first. In his Vlad TV interview, Lil Tim said Quando had to convince him because YB wanted to wait, maybe even create some distance from the whole situation. That detail hits completely different now that this new footage is out, showing YB smacking the same man who helped reinforce his reputation during one of hip-hop's most heated feuds. So what changed? That's the question sending social media into overdrive, with theories flying around faster than a DJ booth in Baton Rouge spinning on a Saturday night. Some people online believe Youngboy's patience finally snapped.
Yeah, it's like, he ain't want to just say, I don't know like 100% everything, but I know he wasn't saying like he didn't want to just drop the tape, like I don't want to drop this with you. He was saying like, let's wait.
They say after Von's team, especially Lil Durk, kept throwing shots in music and online, YB's stress level hit a breaking point. Remember when Youngboy went live talking heavy? That wasn't just some random outburst. People saw it as a straight declaration of war. And Lil Durk didn't waste time firing back with the line, "With your homies gone, you'll never slide, it ain't adding up." A bar that lit the whole situation back up instantly. Now picture the pressure around YB. Sitting at the top of the game, constantly being taunted by Dirk's lyrics, fans online comparing tragic moments like trophies, and right beside him is Lil Tim.
I'm dropping a tape at 12. Kaya.
The man people claim was at the center of everything. To outsiders, that might look like loyalty. Real quick, then came the smack. It wasn't a fight, it wasn't loud, it wasn't wild. What made people think it was real was the way YB moved. He looked calm, steady, almost cold, like someone checking a person in his circle without needing to raise his voice. Just one sharp motion that practically said, "Don't forget who keeps this whole operation moving." Right away, people tied it back to YB's old interviews where he talked about staying out of trouble, staying untouchable, and keeping control of his world. That's the thing about Youngboy. He talks about wanting to be alone.
Well, Quando Rondo and NBA Youngboy actually announced a tour. First stop was supposed to be Chicago, but ultimately that tour never happened.
But he surrounds himself with people ready to ride for him. He says he doesn't care about the industry, but every time he drops something, the whole industry reacts like he shook the room. And if the footage is real, then this moment wasn't random. It was him drawing a line in the sand. Maybe he needed Lil Tim back in 2020, but by 2025, the roles flipped. Now Lil Tim needs him. In that old Vlad TV interview, Lil Tim talked about his first conversation with Youngboy after he bonded out, saying things were cool back then. But years passed, and people noticed something different.
I believe it really supposed to be on tour, but I know I was on house arrest, so I was like, damn, I know I'm probably not gonna be able to go.
When the camera caught YB's face in this new era, his energy didn't match the old days. He wasn't the young artist speaking about loyalty anymore. He looked like a man sitting on a throne built on hardship and loss. This might look like just another viral blow-up from an artist who moves through chaos like it's normal, but for people who followed this whole storyline...
Well, you pull out and you shoot 4 times.
Yeah, the gun jam.
From Von's final moments to 3860 to this leaked clip, it feels like a straight message. Because behind every viral moment, there's always a power ladder, and in Youngboy's world, that ladder means survival. This isn't the same Youngboy from the early 38 baby days. This is a Youngboy who's been locked up, seen people switch up on him, lost trust, and dealt with real pain.
I knew, like, do the same thing, like stay calm and just make sure I get to the hospital.
This is someone who learned the hard way that being respected out of fear gets you farther than being loved out of comfort. And right now, after years of the internet calling him the villain of hip-hop, YB looks like he's embracing that title on purpose. Some folks think what happened was straight disrespect.
Yeah, it's like, he ain't want to just say, I don't know like 100% everything, but I know he wasn't saying like he didn't want to just drop the tape, like I don't want to drop this with you. He was saying like, let's wait.
But in his mind, it might have been discipline, a reminder of who holds the power. And that's exactly why the footage hit harder than any track or any subliminal post. Because if the same man who once stood behind you during the biggest controversy of your life is now checking you in front of the whole world, it says one thing: something major is shifting. When loyalty starts cracking, the internet never sleeps, and rumors travel faster than anything. As soon as that clip leaked, TikTok, X, and every reaction page on YouTube jumped on it instantly. Screenshots everywhere, people zooming in, analyzing every tiny detail, breaking it down frame by frame like it was some historic documentary footage. That question isn't something the streets can just shrug off. Because if it's true, it flips the whole power structure upside down. For years, Lil Tim was seen as the loyal soldier, the one who absorbed all the heat so YB's world wouldn't collapse. He was the one who didn't fold, the one whose split-second actions turned a parking lot clash into a moment people still debate today. But when the person at the top checks the soldier, even in a simple symbolic way, it means the loyalty line just got redrawn. So let's back up for a minute. After King Von passed, Lil Tim wasn't just laying low. He was literally recovering. He had been hit twice, questioned by authorities, and thrown into one of the most controversial legal situations hip-hop had seen in years. And while he was out on bond, Quando Rondo and Youngboy became his shields in the public eye. In his Vlad TV interview, Tim talked about how it felt having his name echoed through music, lifted up by people in his own camp, and how he felt like that was real respect. That one word meant everything to him until this clip surfaced. Because now, That same respect he believed he earned suddenly looked like it got taken away in front of millions. And the tension didn't come out of nowhere. It had been bubbling for a minute. Even before this footage leaked, people inside the industry were already whispering that YB had been distancing himself from the whole 3860 situation. And according to Tim himself, it wasn't Youngboy who pushed for that project. It was Quando. That right there sounded like hesitation. And in rap politics, any hesitation instantly turns into suspicion. Some fans believe YB didn't want to restart the whole situation connected to Vaughn because it boxed him in from every angle. It wasn't just Dirk dropping subliminals anymore. The police, the labels, and the media were watching every move he made. Every verse, every line, every live stream suddenly looked like potential evidence. And that pressure changed the whole landscape. Even 100K Track, King Von's manager, spoke on the aftermath after YB released Bring the Hook, saying the culture itself was losing its soul. That comment hits harder when you realize how much damage has already happened and how much money has been made off the conflict. But back to YB, he's someone who lives off control. You can hear it in his voice, see it in his eyes, and feel it whenever he looks straight into the camera like he's staring down the whole world. When he drops music, when he speaks, when he moves, it all feels intentional. He built an entire lane off fear and respect. The two things that artists either rise off of or lose everything trying to hold on to. The other half of the internet said the moment was long overdue, that YB had been carrying too much dead weight around him. Some even called it a power reset, like YB was trimming the weak links in his circle before they could pull him down. Because here's the truth. The same street code that once made Lil Tim valuable also made him unpredictable. You can't fully control someone who's already shown he'll react first and think later. You can't box in a person who's looked danger in the face and didn't break. And Youngboy has been through enough betrayal to understand how fast loyalty can turn into leverage if you don't keep your circle tight. Meanwhile, Quando Rondo's name started surfacing again. Remember, he's the bridge between both of them, YB's protege and Tim's close friend. That's not an easy spot when two of the most talked about names in hip-hop start drifting apart. Fans noticed Quando went quiet. No posts defending Tim, no interviews shutting down rumors, no energy toward denying the footage. And in this game, silence speaks loud. Sometimes silence means someone's scared, sometimes it means they're plotting their next move, and sometimes it means the truth is too messy to clean up. People close to the situation say the tension didn't start with this clip. It had been building. After the 3860 rollout, the tour meant to bring YB, Quando, and Tim together never happened. That was the first red flag. That line, I probably wasn't gonna be able to go, might have been the quiet breaking point. Because when money's on the line and somebody can't move with the team, the whole crew starts to shift. Suddenly, YB isn't thinking about brotherhood anymore. He's thinking about liability, image, and profit. By early 2025, YB's career looked cleaner than ever, at least on paper. He was back on major streaming platforms. His label was pushing him heavy, and he'd become a full paradox. One of the most controversial artists in the game, yet still able to pull family-friendly numbers on YouTube like nothing ever happened. Meanwhile, Lil Tim's spotlight was fading fast. No big interviews, no new tracks, no fresh features, just silence, until this clip burst onto the scene. Suddenly, the man everyone had almost stopped talking about was right back in the headlines, but for all the wrong reasons. Online detectives jumped in instantly. They broke down everything. YB's posture, Tim's reaction, even the chain Tim was wearing. Some fans swore it wasn't a slap at all. They claimed it looked like a quick tap on the cheek, maybe even a playful moment that got blown out of proportion online. But others were convinced it was real tension, especially considering YB's history of switching up the moment he feels someone isn't aligned with him anymore. And if you've watched Youngboy long enough, you know switching up is part of how he stays afloat. So if Lil Tim stepped even a little out of line, it wouldn't shock anyone for YB to remind him who signs the checks. The real question now is what happens next, because this footage might be the spark that shifts everything. Fans already noticed YB's recent lyrics switching tone. Less about the streets, more about distance. like he's done cleaning up messes he didn't start. If this moment really was about power, it could signal the end of an era, the quiet breakdown of the YB Quando Tim triangle that shaped a huge chunk of modern street rap. Because one thing's clear, when a boss checks someone publicly, even lightly, it's not just control, it's a message. And in hip-hop, big transitions never happen quietly. The fans are watching, the industry is watching, and somewhere Lil Durk is probably smiling because the one thing he could never pull off, breaking YB's inner circle, might have just happened from the inside. When power turns into paranoia, everything shifts fast. This whole moment started with nothing but a blur. Shaky phone footage, muffled voices, and a hand flashing across the frame. At first, nobody could tell what was happening, but when the camera steadied for a split second, the outline was clear. NBA Youngboy stood in the middle of a crowded studio hallway, staring straight at Lil Tim, the same man the world associates with the King Von situation. YB lifted his hand and looked like he smacked Lil Tim across the face. And even though the clip was only a few seconds long, grainy, shaky, and barely clear, that was all the internet needed. Within an hour, it was everywhere. TikTok, X, Instagram, YouTube, every timeline was flooded. Headlines popped up saying, "Youngboy checks his shooter," Lil Tim gets humbled by his own boss, and even YB just ended his own empire. In a world already split by loyalty, tragedy, and pride, this one tiny clip blew everything up all over again. To random viewers, it might have looked like a little scuffle, but anybody who really knows the history understood that slap was carrying weight. It symbolized a power shift that had been building for years. Because this wasn't YB checking some random artist, this was YB checking the man tied to one of the biggest turning points in modern hip-hop, the night of the Atlanta incident outside the hookah lounge. November 6, 2020, the night King Von lost his life. That moment created a chain reaction that split the rap world in two. On one side, you had Lil Durk and OTF carrying Von's name like a banner. On the other side, there was NBA Youngboy, Quando Rondo, and the man at the center of it all, Lil Tim. According to Tim, that night spiraled out of control in seconds. Shots rang out, off-duty officers fired back, and chaos swallowed the whole street. Lil Tim ended up hit twice, once in the hip and once clean through the backside. And somehow he survived. After bonding out, his name turned into one of the most talked about names in rap. Some people labeled him a hero, others labeled him dangerous. But one thing stayed the same. Lil Tim's name could never escape the shadow of that night. Fast forward to 2022, NBA Youngboy was fresh out after months locked in, his mind sharper, colder, and shaped by isolation and stress. That was YB in his rawest form, calm, confident, and fully convinced that fear was the only real currency in this game. Out of that mindset came his collab with Quando Rondo 3860, a project that felt less like music and more like a victory lap for surviving everything they'd been through. But what fans didn't know until later was that Youngboy didn't even want to release 3860 in the first place. Lil Tim said it himself, and that hesitation mattered because in this industry, hesitation looks like doubt, and doubt turns into suspicion fast. Some insiders claimed YB didn't want to reopen the whole King Von situation because it made him look tied to the drama too closely. Others said he was simply playing chess, waiting for the legal dust to settle before moving. Whatever the truth, Quando pushed the tape forward and Youngboy agreed. But people behind the scenes said the resentment had already started simmering. When 3860 finally dropped, fans could hear the tension in the music, the paranoia, the defiance, the tired energy sitting under every bar. Lil Tim got his verse, his shout-outs, his moment, but even then, YB's eyes were already somewhere else. He wasn't looking at Tim like family anymore. He was looking at him like a liability he had to manage. That's why this new footage feels like the final chapter of a story that's been brewing for years. In the video, there's no screaming, no fight breaking out, just Youngboy's hand cutting through the air with this precise, cold motion. It didn't look like anger, it looked like a command. YB has never just wanted loyalty, he wants obedience. But the problem is, Lil Tim isn't built to bow down to anybody. He's a soldier who already faced danger head on and lived through it. You can't shake a man who's already stared danger in the face and didn't fold. So when fans watched that clip, they saw two different worlds colliding. The boss versus the soldier. Dominance versus resistance. And suddenly, all those old quotes from their interviews started hitting way different. Their first conversation after Tim bonded out had been calm, respectful, almost uplifting. That was Youngboy acting like a mentor. But this footage, this showed Youngboy acting like the ruler of his world. The internet ran wild with it instantly. TikTok edits took over timelines, X threads broke down the footage frame by frame, and reactions flooded every comment section. Half the fans insisted the moment was fake or playful, while the other half swore they saw real tension in YB's posture. But in the rap world, it doesn't matter what really happened. Perception becomes truth. And once the internet decides something is real, it gets treated like fact. Soon the theories turned into accusations. Some bloggers claimed YB was tired of Tim's name being attached to the King Von situation. Others said Tim himself wanted distance, maybe even wanted to build his own lane without being tied to anybody. Some people even claimed the problem was financial, that certain checks weren't hitting on time and loyalty was thinning out. Nobody truly knows the real story, but everyone had an opinion and everyone was loud about it. Then the old interview from 100K Track, King Von's former manager, resurfaced. When he spoke on Vlad TV about the non-stop cycle of drama, disses, and loss, his words suddenly sounded like a warning that nobody listened to. He said the police were getting involved and the graveyards were filling up faster than the charts. As soon as that slap went viral, all the old tension between OTF and Never Broke Again fans ripped right back open. Lil Durk's supporters jumped on the moment instantly, calling it straight poetic justice. Durk's line, "Your homie's gone, you'll never slide," was repeated under every repost like an anthem. To them, this wasn't just drama, this was payback. But to people who truly understand YB's mindset, the move made perfect sense. He has always been locked in on dominance, in music, in real life, and in how the world sees him. Even when he dissed Von in Bring the Hook, he wasn't talking to someone who passed. He was sending warnings to everyone still breathing. That's how YB communicates, not with apologies, but with messages meant to shake people up. So if this footage is real, it's not about betrayal, it's about control. Because YB isn't just running from enemies, he's running from becoming irrelevant. In a world that celebrates chaos, going quiet can make you disappear fast. And right now, Youngboy refuses to be forgotten. But that kind of dominance comes with a cost. Isolation. People around him have said he barely sleeps, that he spends long nights pacing, recording, planning his next move. He's cut off producers, canceled shows out of nowhere, and disappeared for weeks at a time. Some call that strategy, others call it paranoia. Either way, that's what happens when survival becomes a lifestyle instead of a situation. Meanwhile, Lil Tim has been fading into the background. No big features, no interviews since his Vlad TV appearance, barely any activity online, just pure silence. And when someone goes that quiet, after being at the center of one of the most explosive moments in rap history, the silence itself becomes suspicious. When 3,860 dropped, fans thought Lil Tim was about to take off. Instead, his momentum stalled hard. Every new move he tried to make got blocked by the same question people kept throwing around. Is he the artist or the man tied to that moment in Atlanta? That's a question no PR team on earth can clean up. So when this new clip surfaced, it felt like the last straw. The moment the whole story came full circle. The man who once reacted out of loyalty now looked like the one getting checked because of it. Some insiders even claim that's the real reason the footage leaked. Not by accident, but on purpose. A way for YB's camp to remind everyone exactly who runs the show. And if that's true, it's one of the coldest power moves the culture has seen in a long time. A public embarrassment dressed up as leadership. But even if it wasn't planned, the damage is already done. Once your own boss checks you in front of millions, there's no bouncing back from that. Not in the streets and not in the industry. And the fallout behind the scenes could get messy fast. People close to the situation say Tim's side is heated, pride is bruised, and quiet talks about separating from YB's camp have already started floating around. Nobody would dare confront Youngboy directly. His presence alone makes people tread carefully, but the resentment is there, no question, and resentment never dies quietly. Meanwhile, Quando Rondo, the one caught right in the middle, has gone completely silent. No interviews, no posts defending either side, just vague messages about loyalty turning fake. For someone who once called both YB and Tim his brothers, that silence says everything. Even the tour that was supposed to bring all three of them together never happened. And when Tim was asked whether the situation was trolling or real, he answered carefully, almost too carefully. Maybe that line wasn't just about restrictions, maybe it was symbolic, maybe he already knew back then that he wasn't really part of YB's next chapter. Because for Youngboy, this chapter isn't about friendship anymore, it's about legacy. After years of being labeled the industry's troublemaker, he's decided to claim the title instead of running from it. He's not trying to blend in or play by the rules. He's trying to outlast everybody. And if that means stepping away from the same people who once protected him, then he's willing to do it. There's something tragic about that. How every empire YB builds eventually breaks from the inside. He's been through this cycle too many times. Trust, betrayal, silence, then domination. Same storyline, different faces. And maybe that's the real story here. The footage isn't shocking because of the motion itself. It's shocking because of what it confirms. That Youngboy's biggest rival has never been Lil Durk or King Von or even the industry. It's been himself. Every moment of tension, every diss, every feud, it's him wrestling with the ghost of his own paranoia. And the wild part is, the same paranoia that keeps him sharp, that keeps him alive in a dangerous game, is also what keeps tearing his world apart piece by piece. Because once you let someone get too close, they gain the power to hurt you. And YB refuses to risk that ever again. Fans keep arguing about whether the footage was real, but honestly, it doesn't even matter anymore. In hip-hop, perception is reality. What people believe hits way harder than what actually happened. And right now, most people believe that the bond between Youngboy and Lil Tim, a bond that once looked unbreakable, is officially cracked. Somewhere in Chicago, Durk is probably smirking, not out of revenge, but because time did something that conflict couldn't. It split the opposition from the inside out. As for YB, he's gonna keep moving like nothing fazed him. He'll record new tracks, drop cryptic captions, and let the whole world argue while he puts his next verse together. That's his true skill. Turning pressure into hits and pain into content that always gets people talking. But even with all his success, he can't outrun that split-second image, that blurry frame of a hand touching a face, the moment that reignited every rumor, every theory, every ghost from the past 5 years. It's the perfect symbol for Youngboy's entire journey. Brilliant, intense, and self-destructive all at the same time. And that's why this moment matters. It's not really about a possible slap. It's about what happens when fear becomes the base of loyalty and power replaces brotherhood. In YB's world, respect doesn't come from love. It comes from dominance. Loyalty isn't a bond, it's a contract. And when that contract stops benefiting him, it gets ripped apart, just like every alliance before it. So, whether the footage was staged, real, or blown out of proportion, one thing is certain, this marks the end of an era. That trio that once shaped a whole movement, Youngboy, Quando, and Lil Tim, might never stand on the same stage again. And maybe that's exactly how YB wants it, because in his mind, there's room for only one king, and kings don't share thrones. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you like, subscribe, share, and I'll see you in the next one.